This podcast is a combination of the last 11 podcasts of RPG a Day 2023. If you've been listening on a daily basis, you don't need to listen to this podcast.
This podcast is part of RPGaDay 2023, a celebration of RPGs by the people who play them. I'm using the keyword prompt provided as a part of RPGaDay to inspire brief story beats in the campaign world of the solo RPG I'm playing. These will be very short, and I will also be grouping them in batches of 10 to release throughout the month and as one big podcast at the end of August. So they can be listened to every day or in smaller amounts or even in one sitting. For more about RPG a Day or my campaign, stay tuned after the story or check the show notes. Day 21. Keyword license. All right, you lot, the sergeant yelled. Pay attention. I'm only going to say this once. This, he flourished a large piece of paper with a gaudy seal and ribbon attached, licenses you to clear the northern realm of undesirable critters, creatures, and ne'er-do-wells. Without this, you don't get to collect bounties, and you don't get the adventurer's tax rate. I would suggest you stash it somewhere secure in the fort or in town. Don't take it into the wilderness where you can lose it. But this, he held up an ornate iron badge, you do need to take with you. Without this pass, you do not get through this gate. And chances are, even the merchant's town will turn you away. So keep your credentials close and secure. The main gates will open at dawn. Day 22. Keyword, second hand. Katya sat down for a quick meal at the Goblin's Gallbladder before returning from filling Master Nantor's shopping list. In the crowded dining area, she couldn't help but overhear the ladies at the next table reacting to the Colonel's recent announcement of the Red Dragon's demise, despite what they probably thought were hushed tones. Thank the seven heavens the beast is dead. That attack turned my prize Petunia deals to ash. I know, but that Sir Gus from Barnum Bailey, isn't that the family that dishonored the prince consort? I think you're right. Hard to believe someone from that family could accomplish such a thing. Well, I heard some of his help was elves, or maybe even those elvish mongrels. Katya had to keep from tittering when she caught them looking over at her from the corner of her eye. I saw that group come through. They had one of those tree-loving druidish people with them. No, I bet they just made a deal with that dragon. I mean, a disgraced family and elves and druids. You're right. How do we know it's not some scheme to get power for his family? Katya realized she wouldn't be able to eat any more while suppressing her reactions. She dropped a few coins on the table for the servers, then she picked up her bag and walked out, making sure to sweep back her hair as she passed the ladies' table. The sudden silence and agog expressions caused her to explode with laughter after exiting the building. Day 23. Keyword, coolest. Hooley did not like the upper mines. While many of his kin complained of the heat of the lower sections of the main tunnels, Hooley found that much preferable to the tunneling through the mountain peaks. The danger of rock falling down on you or filling the shaft below was greater here. Oh, for a pair of the legendary roof boots for mining from the ceiling. And the tunneling in this section was much nearer to the outer wall of the mountain. The cold of the perpetual winter at the top of the God's Ridge came through to even the lower parts of the mountain. Here it was bone-chilling, even for a dwarf. Still, their shaman had said there was value here, and Hooley had found many unusual gems of varied size and quality. A swing of his pick created a rather good-sized fissure in the rock face. He smiled, pleased with the blow, until it began to spread rapidly. Hooley retreated, barely escaping as a large section of the mountain collapsed into the tunnel. Through the narrow opening at the top of the pile of rocks, he could see light come through, and he felt as much as heard the wind. He had breached the mountainside, but how? He shouldn't have been that close. A cave, maybe? As he shivered and an earthly howl filled the cavern, a different chill went through his skin, and a scrabbling sound of moving rock sent him to flight. pick, shovel, and gems forgotten. Day 24. Keyword complex, simple. So as you see, Bernie, the individual pieces in Dragon Squares have very simple moves. And in terms of action, they can attack or mediate. Not so much to remember, but the possibilities, the series of moves to win, that is where the strategy arises. That and paying attention to studying your opponent. Cudgel's last statement was obviously directed at Edgar, who was leafing through his journal as he played. Bernie stifled a chuckle. Well, the tiles are a little complicated. No, says Cudgel, as he moves a piece and flips a tile. The tiles track units flying, digging, alliances, and defense. Once you know how to read them, they simplify the game. If you say so, Bernie responded. Once you get the basics down, you and Harl can play and learn together, and you can watch Edgar and I on the occasions when he pays enough attention to be competitive. Cudgel's commentary broke off as Edgar directed a series of moves and tile flips that ended with Cudgel's prime being slain. Hoots of laughter filled the cave as the crestfallen Cudgel facepalmed and Edgar smiled slyly, returning to his journal. Day 25. Keyword unplayed. Amaroth groaned. Another dead end. Curse this hieroglyphic-strewn maze of a temple. He'd lost track of how long he'd been wandering its corridors and chambers, but he knew 22 was the number of his retinue killed by the dangers lurking within, and 12 was the number who had abandoned the expedition to return to the surface. He should have gone with the last group. He was no longer sure the way back. Even with the provisions gathered from the corpses of his former party members, he could only last so long. He turned to backtrack and froze as a stone tile on the floor depressed with a click. A series of runes and pictures on the wall lit up. Wait! He knew this sequence. He fumbled for his journal, and then he touched a series of the glyphs. The wall behind him opened, and he entered a vast chamber of pipes. At its center, the fabled organ of Heward. Yes! After all this time, the great artifact stood before him. Dust and webs indicated it was untouched for unknown ages. He eagerly moved towards it. Then he felt another click. Day 26. Keyword character sheet. Sinomi, goddess of the count, called out, "Next!" and another applicant stepped forward. Name? Meldor the Magnificent, came the reply, the last word hesitant in the presence of a deity. Sinomi reached out her right rearmost hand, and a piece of parchment was placed there by one of her celestial retainers. She handed it to one of her front midarms and placed it on the podium before her. A series of ordered numbers delineated this being's physical and mental capabilities, as well as a list of skills, relationships, and accomplishments. You died of firmament flame? The human? It was hard to determine the mundane species from each other. Looked confused. But then, yes, I was trying to create a spell to draw on the power of the stars, and I miscalculated. You summoned it on purpose? Impressive. Naomi flipped the parchment and selected one of a myriad of stamps to apply to it. She picked up a quill. You worship Lathul? Yes, the lord of the magical realm is an inspiration. He may even deign to speak with you. She rolled up the parchment and affixed a sigil ribbon around it. She handed it to Meldor. Purple portal to your left. An attendant of eyes and wings nudged Meldor in the correct direction. Pause, called Sinomi. Time froze for the eternal applicants before her, and she teleported to her abode for a midday meal. Why do you use that tattered thing? Asked Cudgel. This? Bernie tapped his spellbook. It's an Eldritch Gar, first edition. It may be old, but a finer container of Eldritch magics has never been assembled. Cudgel thumped his own tome. The 4th edition is far better. The built-in prompts lead to much better organization. Too formulaic. Magic is personal. The ability to adapt your own style of recording spells yield creativity and better retention. It's a disorganized mismatch of materials. If Katya were here, I'm sure she'd agree. Sir Gus interjected, I think Katya uses a glyphine. Seriously? Cudgel was incredulous. Bernie looked at Cudgel. Isn't glyphine the Eldritch Guard disciple that basically made minor changes to the 3rd edition? Cudgel nodded, and they both burst out laughing. Day 28. Keyword, scariest. Snoutus felt shame. He was an orc. Orcs were strong. Orcs were fierce. The world feared orcs, but Snoutus was scared. After the adventuring party routed his unit, they had fled, running back to the dungeon they had taken refuge in days before. Through the secret doors their leader had found, and up to the sublevel they went. Then some of their number had been killed by the beast before they trapped it in a room. And then some group of adventurers with a wizard had sealed the entrance. No way to get out and hunt. Exploration had led to more deaths from the creatures they now shared a residence with. Now they waited to be slaughtered by some powerful monster. Waited to ambush the adventurers when they return. Waited to die of starvation. Orcs should not fear, but dying in battle was different from this. Day 29. Keyword, encounter. Hail, friend, you look in need of aid, Farius greeted the battered strangers. Indeed, their leader replied, we ran afoul of hobgoblins near a side trail. We have no healers, Farius responded, but we can provide food, water, and first aid. We are grateful for anything you can offer. Later, as the horsemen departed, Grimald broke into a grin. You saw their banner and crest? He asked his second. From the Barnum Bailey, Kelvit replied. You think they serve the paladin? I believe they are joining him. Perhaps Clestis has blessed our raid after all. Had we not fled the hobbies, we'd never have run into these stalwart soldiers. The hard path is often the richest, Kelvit intoned. Indeed. Have a small team shadow them while we recover and plan. Day 30. Keyword, obscure. Are you saying you can make heads or tails of this? Gus asked, gesturing to the map Bernie was holding. The symbology is partially customized, but some of it seems straightforward. And these parts, he tapped the darker drawings, are definitely the self-proclaimed Baron Castle and village of Keystone. You can make all that out even with the parts of it charred? If you view the cryptic markings as denoting contours and foliage or water features, it comes together, but the castle symbol was obviously added by someone else. So it's straight to the point. What about the writing on the back? A very old dialect. Without magic, I doubt I'd have cracked it. What does it say? It speaks of a powerful device, one that can create or lure warriors to one's cause. Is it nearby? Scale is hard to tell, but based on what else is on the map, a few days to 2 to 3 weeks away. Day 31. Keyword, favorite. Are you laughing at me? Asked Russell. Of course I am. You're trying so hard not to show how jealous you are, Patrice replied. Russell sniffed and turned his head away. I'm not jealous. He tried to grit out in a level tone. Bertie grasped and pulled his elbow as she burst out again. Oh, big brother, of course you are. You've been the favored son for so long, and now the black sheep is getting praise and attention. Maybe, Russell allowed. I know you are because I am too. I don't think Father's eyes lit up when I was betrothed as much as they did when he saw Gus's letter in that bag of treasure. I'm sure it wasn't like that. Russ tried to reassure his sister. As he looked at her, he continued, I just don't understand how he did it. Because he's always been so unfocused, Bertie finished the thought. To Russ's nod, she responded, I told you when he returned to his nightly training. He's found something. You did say that, Russ relented. We're going to have to get used to the fact that your twin has found something, Bernie stated. And you know, I'm proud of him. Russ replied with a smile. Me too. He quickly looked at his sister. But I'll deny that if you ever repeat it. Bertie chortled. RPGaDay originated on the blog Autocratic, with a K at the end, .com, 10 years ago as of August 2023. Every August, questions, keywords, or both are provided to inspire people to share their experiences and enjoyment of the hobby in the medium of their choice. My RPG campaign began as a one-shot to answer the question, can a first-level AD&D party kill a huge ancient dragon? I did this in episode 39, Enter the Dragon, of my podcast, and was inspired to continue on in that world. It has been part of my podcast ever since. I believe these RPGaDay minisodes will stand on their own, just as glimpses into a fantasy RPG setting. If you'd like to know more, I encourage you to explore my back catalog from episode 39 onward. I welcome any questions, comments, or feedback. My contact information is in the show notes, and I will also go over those ways of contacting me now. Thank you for listening to Phantom Thoughts. I would love to hear your feedback. You don't have to be part of the show. If you want to contact me and let me know, hey, these are for your eyes only. I just wanted to give you thoughts, ideas, response, and it's really for your eyes or ears only. That's absolutely fine. I'd love to hear from you either way. So just let me know when you contact me. Just, I don't want to be part of the show. There are lots of different ways you can contact me. You can send me an email at phantomthoughtspodcast@gmail.com. And that can be a regular email, or you can attach an audio file to it. You can use the message button on my podcast site on podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/phantom thoughts. You can contact me via my Google Voice number, 864-209-1441. You can contact me via SpeakPipe at www.speakpipe.com/phantom thoughts. You can contact me on Discord, The Pink Phantom. All this contact information is listed in the show notes of every episode. And thank you for those who call in. Thank you for those who don't call in. I appreciate you listening and hope you'll listen again next time. Until then, I hope you have a great day.